Today I'm joined by Town Moderator Barry Sargent, our Town Clerk Mary Ellen Pelletier, and in anticipation of the general election to be held November 7th, we're here to provide some information about the practical issues associated with voting, from location to ballots to what to do when you're in the voting booth, whether it's your first time or you voted before. Our hope is that you may learn something new through our conversation today. So why don't we start with where will voting be held?
Voting for this election will be at Pollard School. This is the second time we've done it, and as everyone probably knows, it's located on Main Street, right down from the town hall, and we're going to try it again this time.
Will there be any conflict with the school? How will voters, where will they go to park and enter?
Well, the school's been very cooperative with us, and even though school will be in session, I do not anticipate much of a conflict at all. They're letting us use the new gym, which is on the south side of Pollard School, and the entranceway is the south side, or if you will, the side that is opposite the church where the funeral home is. We'll be using that as an entrance and an exit. And there's parking for probably 75 cars.
Okay. Outside, is there going to be an area for candidates and their supporters?
Yeah, the first entrance ramp that you come to for the gym, right in front of that ramp, I'm going to rope off an area for candidates to be, trying to make sure that we keep the appropriate 10-foot right-of-way for the voters to get in and out, so they don't feel as though they're running a gauntlet, so to speak. Not that the candidates ever get out of line, but some people are interested in just getting in and voting. Others come, and they are interested in gaining information from some of the candidates. So I think it's good that the candidates are there, and they'll be in an area that's, I would say, very appropriate for that.
Okay. You mentioned a ramp, so I'm assuming that this location is accessible to persons with disabilities?
Yes, we've had the state come down and inspect the building, the entrance and the exits, and the interior of the gym. It meets all the state requirements for handicapped accessibility and usage.
All right. Speaking of those issues, I understand there's a new accessible voting booth as well as a new voting system for people who may have visual impairments. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Mary Ellen, you want to handle that?
Yes, it's a new phone system, so a totally blind person can vote privately without any assistance. If they want assistance, they're still welcome to have somebody go in with them, or that's their choice. But it's a phone system. You totally vote by phone, and when your ballot is finished, a paper ballot will come out of a fax machine, which goes into the ballot counting machine. Anybody is welcome to try that system if they want to. It's open to any voter.
Okay. And it probably helps to have more of those type of ballots in the mix.
Yes, we don't want to have just one vision impaired person's ballot be the only one, because the ballot is a little different. Mm-hmm. So if any one person does use it, several poll workers will have to use it so that there is not just one ballot and it stands out so we know how that person voted.
Okay, all right.
And I think, Mary Ellen, that's a good idea, because if a handicapped person comes in and they're using it and they have a problem with it, if we've already used it ourselves, we know firsthand how it's supposed to be used.
Right, I did use it in the primary and it worked pretty well. I found it a little difficult for a write-in candidate, but then I can see, so maybe if somebody was more used to following directions and not trying to read the phone, it might have been a little easier. But it worked well, it did work. Mm-hmm. Just I found it slow, but...
And also the keys have a braille system on them, too.
Yes, they do.
Which many of your people would have with sight problems. They're familiar with the braille system.
Right.
It would help them a lot, I think.
Okay, so. Good. What are the requirements to be eligible to register to vote?
Good.
You need to be at least 18 and be a Plaistow resident. So when you come in, we're going to ask for ID. Driver's license with showing a Plaistow address will be all you need. If your license doesn't show your Plaistow address, you'll need to bring a utility bill or something to show us you are a resident.
Okay. And right now, we're less than a week away. Are there any other opportunities for people to register to vote other than on Election Day
Only
itself?
on Election Day at this point.
Okay, all right. When somebody comes in, what happens when they come in to check in?
They go to the ballot clerks and announce their name. The clerk will check off their name. If they're not on the list for whatever reason, then they go over to the supervisors of the voting checklist and register as a voter first, and then they're allowed to vote.
Okay. And then they'll be given a ballot, and where are they going to go to fill out their ballot?
Well, they'll be instructed to go to one of the voting booths. And we will give them an option again this time. If they can use the voting booth, that's fine, or if they would rather sit at one of the tables. And some people find that more relaxing, because if they have a problem standing for any period of time, they can sit at a table and fill out their ballot. And for some of them, it's more convenient to do that, I think.
Okay. Probably good to talk about the ballot a little bit. I understand the format is different from previous elections this year. And
Yes.
it's a new look on the ballot. Maybe can we talk about that a little bit?
Yes, it is. We have a sample of the ballot here. And they're going to focus in on it. In the past, we would have governor, and then under the governor would be all the people running. So you check each one, then you go down to the next race. This year, they have governor, and then you go across to pick your candidate. We have executive counselor, then you go across. So the ballot's set up a little bit different. You can vote straight party Republican, straight party Democrat. You could choose to vote straight party Republican, but say you wanted to vote for the Democratic governor. You could check him off, and it would count the ballot appropriately. If you choose a write-in, there's a spot for write-ins. You'd color in the circle and write the name in. If you don't color the circle, the vote won't be counted.
Okay. Anything else we should know about filling in the ballot?
I want to emphasize what Mary Ellen just said, and that is, when you determine who you want to vote for, you have to fill in that circle. In particular, on a write-in, as Mary Ellen just said, you can't just write in a person's name and not fill in the circle, because if you don't fill in the circle, the machine will not pick up that you put in a write-in candidate. So if you're going to write somebody in, you've got to fill in that circle.
And I think the filling in the circle in and of itself is also an important direction. I know when I've looked at ballots and recounts before, people will have put an X in the circle or checked it off. There's no guarantee that the machine will read those.
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct. You must, there's no guarantee, and even if you X the circle, if you X it right through that circle, there's a good possibility that it'll pick it up, but it's no guarantee, as you say. And that's when sometimes when we have a recount, if there is a slight difference in the results, that's usually because a particular voter hasn't properly filled in their ballot, therefore the machine couldn't pick up their vote.
What happens if I make a mistake while I'm filling out the ballot?
You need to take your ballot and bring it to me as the moderator, and I'll briefly look at your mistake and see what it is, and if we can correct it on that ballot, fine. If not, I'll be glad to take your ballot. I will void that ballot and put it aside, and then I'll give you a new ballot.
Okay. All right. So really, if anybody has any question about whether it's filled out or they've made a mistake, they should really check with you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, Marion, you had mentioned this briefly when we were looking at the ballot, but I think it's probably good to reinforce because it's still relatively new to have a straight ticket option. And I think, and if you vote straight ticket for one party but want to vote for one candidate or the other party, the reader will the machine will understand that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And I guess similarly, if you do want to vote a straight ticket, you then can fill one circle at the top and you're not obligated to fill all the other circles below.
Correct.
Okay. All right. We've talked a little bit about write-in votes, the importance of both filling in the circle and writing in the name. Probably good to talk a little bit about what we'll actually be voting on. I mean, I know people have seen the proliferation of lawn signs everywhere, but there are a couple other things on the ballot too.
You want to comment, Marion?
There's several candidates, and you're right, they've seen the signs, the governor, executive council, state reps. There are two questions on the ballot this year for the state constitution. There will be flyers at the voting polling place for people to read and understand about the questions. And there's a few of those flyers at Town Hall if they want to pick one up in advance.
Okay, and I think that may be the big surprise to people. I know at our selectmen's meeting Monday night, that issue was raised because it was news to people that there are actually two questions.
Right, there is a back side to the ballot. The questions are on the reverse side.
And I guess my own encouragement to people would be to seek out some information on those before. There's some pretty dense text to be standing in the ballot booth, reading that and trying to figure out what you want to do. So it may require a little more research for people. And just to remember, it's there. They're on the back side of the ballot.
Yes.
So just a reminder too. It says I know at the bottom of the ballot, but reminding people to flip the ballot
Flip it over.
All right. So we've gone through. We've finished both sides of the ballot. What happens when we're done filling out the ballot?
You bring your ballot over to the voting machines, with which I will be there, and I'll take your ballot and I'll put it in the voting machine. I can put it in right side up or upside down. The machine still reads your ballot. Or if you like, you can put your ballot in yourself. And after that, you're all done and you can head to the exit.
Okay. And the exit will be?
The exit will be the back of the gym. I'm going to try to have people coming in one entrance, which is nearest to the road, and I'll have a sign out there that'll say entrance. And then after you've finished, I'll want you to go out the back of the gym so we have a steady flow of people coming in one door and out the other.
Okay.
So,
what if I'm not available to vote on the 7th?
You can get an absentee ballot if you're not going to make it to the polls through Monday night. We're open till 7 on Monday night at the clerk's office, and you can fill it out and leave it with us.
Okay.
Obviously, if you're trying to get an absentee ballot on Tuesday, you're available to be at the polls. So
That's a good point. And anybody who may have an absentee ballot out there, when are they due back?
you need to have it back on Tuesday's mail in order to be counted. If
Okay.
it comes in Wednesday, it's too late.
Okay. If voters have any questions about the voting procedure, location, anything like that, with whom should they speak?
They can call the clerk's office. We're open and accessible
Okay,
at 382-8129, extension 5.
great.
and also that day, if they have any questions about the ballot, they certainly come to Mary Ellen or myself, and we'll be more than happy to help them
Okay.
filling out their ballot.
Good. In preparation for that, I know some people like being able to see a sample ballot. Where can people see or get a copy of a sample ballot?
We'll be glad to give them a photocopy, but there is a copy posted at the library and town hall, and it's on the Plaistow.com website.
Yes. And
By the way, also that day, there'll be sample ballots.
Posted,
that
yes.
You'll give out that day. They'll be posted on the walls as you come in. So if you want to go over the ballot before you receive it, you certainly can look at it. It'll be up on the wall, and you can examine the ballot. If you have any questions, you can ask us, and then go and give your name and then receive your ballot.
okay. And voting again November 7th. At what time do you open?
We open up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we close at 8 o'clock at night.
Okay.
And that's been the hours that it's been that way, I'm going to guess, since I've been moderator, which is more years than I want to think about, but at least 20 years. The polls open at 8 and they close at 8 o'clock at night.
Okay.
It is confusing for some people because other towns have different hours, but ours have been pretty regular at 8 to 8 for at least the last 20 years. So.
Okay. And anything else about the upcoming general election that I might have missed?
No, I think you've done a good job, Jason.
I just had to ask the questions. You guys have the answers. Why don't we just chat a little bit then? After the November election, we do have a couple other town functions upcoming. Probably worthwhile to have people think about in the next few times that they'll be able to participate as well.
Yeah, well, next time it'll be after the first of the year. The town will be having a public hearing on the budget, and then there'll be a deliberative session, and then you'll have voting the second Tuesday in March. So those are the three areas coming up after the November election. So.
Also, anybody who wants to run for a town as a candidate in the town, that's usually open sometime in February. I'm not sure of the exact dates, but if anybody out there is interested in running for some office, they can call and we can get the dates out to them.
Sure. I think that's the other piece on that vein as well is people have the ability to petition an article onto the town meeting warrant too. And those are usually due the second week in January. So I think
Yes.
to people who may have an interest in any of those other pieces should certainly be in contact with any of us, and we can help them with the procedural pieces.
Sure.
And I guess in wearing my town manager hat, I certainly would encourage people to participate in those events at the beginning of the year. It's particularly helpful for us to have participation at the budget hearing, and because we can respond to suggestions and comments that have come up, and the deliberative session as well. I mean, there's a lot of power at the deliberative session where people can discuss, learn about issues, amend things, and then certainly come out and vote in March.
Right. As you said, at the deliberative session, if they come and they want to make an amendment to a warrant article or to the budget, whatever amendment they can get passed, if that affects the budget or any of the warrant articles, then that is the way they will see their ballot election day, based on the amendments they make. And I might add, based on the ballots we've had in March the last few
Yes.
years, we're talking double-sided, anywhere from 6 to 8 pages. So it does behoove the average voter to spend some time learning on the issues they're going to be voting on, because there's a lot of reading and a lot of issues to be decided. And we do allow cheat sheets, by the way. If you want to do your homework in advance, you can bring a little cheat sheet and take the ballot and vote the way you wish to vote, which saves you a lot of time, because if not, you'll be spending anywhere from 15 minutes to half an hour voting on those issues. And so it does help. And there again, that's where the tables we use come in handy too, because some people can't stand for a long period of time. So.
And I think that speaks to, we spoke earlier about the two articles on the November ballot, the constitutional amendment ones, that are kind of tough to read for the first time there. Sometimes our warrant articles are the same way. By the time we write them so they are legally appropriate or meet the requirements of the Department of Revenue Administration, they often don't sound like any English that you or I speak. So I understand that.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for joining us today. And once again, reminding people that Election Day is November 7th. Polls are open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and voting will be at Pollard School. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for coming.